Welcome back to Wild, Wise and Curious, Embracing Our Journey, where we're excited to continue the conversation around all things peri and beyond. We'll continue to explore all our stories, challenges and importantly the wisdom we learn along the way. As usual, we'd love to chat with women just like you who might like to share your own perimeno or post-menopause stories with us. We can't wait to chat with you. Hello and welcome to Wild, Wise and Curious. We've got another guest in today, so I'm delighted to welcome Carrie to the podcast today. Hi Carrie.
Hello.
Hi Carrie,
Hi.
Thanks for joining us today.
That's okay.
So just starting off with the sort of question that we kind of kick every sort of show off when we're talking to guests, and that really is how you came to sort of find out or realise that what was going on was perimenopause.
Right, okay. So I'm definitely in menopause now, and probably, hopefully, coming out the other side of it. Maybe I'm 56. So when I was going into perimenopause, that was probably around 12 years ago. So, So I was, definitely early to mid 40s, I think.
Yeah.
And at that time, even though it was only, it sounds like I'm ancient, doesn't it? But it wasn't that long ago.
No.
But actually, nowhere near as much as now were people talking about perimenopause or menopause even. I didn't really realise that's what was happening to me at all. But I was having some quite extreme experiences.
Okay.
And my main experience was palpitations. And they really, really affected me really badly. Certainly if I had a drink, then they were really bad. But just, lots of times they would just come on. I was convinced I'd got a heart problem. I went to the doctors. I had about 3 ECGs, I think, over a few years, and they always said no, normal. And then I started thinking, I wonder if this could be anything to do with menopause, maybe, because I couldn't work out what it was. So I googled a lot, and now if you Google palpitations, perimenopause, it comes up straight away.
Yes. Yeah, it does.
But 10, 12 years ago, it didn't.
I can imagine.
There was nothing that connected the two. So I was like, right, okay, I don't know if it that. So I did mention it to the doctors, and they were like, oh, no. Are you having hot sweats? And I was like, no. They were like, no, it's not. And that was their only definition, Are you having hot sweats? No. Oh, well, that's it, and then it's not that. Eventually, I persuaded them to do some blood tests on me to see if I was going into menopause. They did, and they came back and said, no, you're not. Now I know that, blood tests are completely irrelevant when you're in perimenopause. Totally unreliable. But at the time, I thought, oh, that's it. It's not that then. What is it? And just really, 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 really tricky. Didn't know where to turn, who to talk to. And then it got more and more intense. So the anxiety got worse. And I wasn't someone who'd really experienced that before in my life. I had at times when things had gone really badly wrong, bereavements and separations and that sort of thing. But
Normal
human level, I wasn't someone who really experienced anxiety, and all of a sudden I was experiencing it all the time. And I've got quite a busy life, busy job, and I literally used to sit there thinking, right, I'm obviously having a heart attack, but I need to finish this. So I'll just get to the end of this meeting, and then I'll go to the hospital. And that was like kind of a regular thing that was going on in the back of my mind all the time. And eventually the worst day was when I got up to go to work, got ready, got to the front door and couldn't leave the door. I felt so overwhelmed, and again, just anybody who knows me, not me at all. Very outgoing, very not me at all. And I was just like, oh, and eventually then I went to the doctors again and said, look, something's really wrong. I'm so yeah, and eventually they well, I don't know whether they accepted it was menopause, but I totally realised it was.
Yeah. So how long was that period then between when you initially thought it was, but you were dismissed, and that really bad time that you...
Yeah, I think it was about 3 years probably.
So that's a long time to be dealing with it and not knowing what it is. And the fact that you thought that it was that in the first place as well.
Yeah.
It is. It's really interesting that you cottoned on quite quickly and questioned, because I had very similar to you. I felt like I was falling off the planet. I started with subtle things that weren't really anything that I'd be bothered about, like a bit of tinnitus or changing in my breathing patterns and things like that, but I didn't pay any attention to that. But when the anxiety and the palpitations and the like irrational thoughts and stuff like that, when all that kicked in, I thought I was having a massive like breakdown. So I can, and it just totally throws you. And you but I, like you, even mine was about the same sort of age. I was about, it was so it was 2000 and yes, it was 2020, which would have made me 45. So not about the same sort of age.
And you're not having hot flushes or anything.
No.
I mean, when they come, they come.
But
sorry to tell you,
but
none of that is happening.
So then it's not obvious for you. No, obviously, we're aware, but even 5 years ago when it was started to happen to me, there was not so much stuff.
Not as much,
but there was obviously probably 10,000 times more than what there would have been 12 years ago. I mean, I think a year or two into me feeling how I did, Davina was on doing the sex myths and the menopause stuff, which was kind of like, oh, thank God for that.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I mean, I remember when Davina first did her programme, and I was just like, oh, this is amazing. Because the worst thing about it for me is I didn't know what was happening to me. And so I always say to people, if you once you know, and once you think, oh, this is what it is, actually it just takes a lot of that the anxiety, because anxiety feeds on itself, doesn't it? And the more anxious you are about what's wrong with you, the more
and you know what you're dealing with then.
Exactly. Exactly.
And you're not thinking, oh, I'm having a heart attack. Which is, I mean, that is so scary when you feel that way. And then to know that it's not that, actually.
I remember one day we were out on a Mother's Day, and my sister was... and I was sitting there then, and everybody's there, all the family, all the children, and I was having one of my attacks, and I was like, I'm definitely having a heart attack today. This is definitely it. And how can I have done this on Mother's Day? It's going to ruin it for everybody. And I was just like, no, I can't tell anyone because it's just going to ruin the day. So I was just sitting there, and in the end, my sister looked at me and she said, are you okay? And I was like, don't say anything, but I think I'm having a heart attack. And she was just brilliant. And she was like, oh, let's just go outside. Let's just, have a sit down and a chat and everything. And she just, was really, really, really good with me. But, and I just burst into tears. I think I was holding all this pressure in.
I totally get it.
And it's just awful. It's, So.
I think the most awful bit about it is that it could have been avoided. That's how I feel.
Exactly.
I feel like, and I've probably said it on the podcast before, but like when you go for your smear test or something, instead of being asked the questions that you're asked, why not? Why not? Oh, have you, when you're in your mid-30s, oh, have you started experiencing this, or have you started experiencing that, or there was just nothing around when you search up panic attacks, anxiety, and obviously there is now, which is fantastic. And as Lou said on a podcast a little while ago, there's like 60 odd symptoms. Which is just crackers.
And I've only experienced 59, so I found myself looking.
But isn't it funny though that they rate it based on whether you're getting hot flushes?
That's it.
And the amount of
their only.
I've not had. No, I get a little bit of rosy cheeks in the evening sometimes, but I've never had a hot flush.
Yeah.
Never had a hot flush.
Yeah,
So then because you kind of do a detective thing, don't you? Like trying to like work out what's going on.
Exactly.
But when you're not having the night sweats or massive rages or whatever it is that was sort of like thrown out and about as the symptoms, you're kind of clueless, aren't you?
I know. I mean, when I eventually went, because when I sort of started moving into menopause, and then, you know, the hot flushes and the night sweats and all that joy comes, then they take you more seriously. But even then, I said to the doctor, because one of my really difficult symptoms is brain fog.
Yeah.
And I think, you know, it drives my partner mad, because I rarely finish a sentence. I'm always saying, where's the thing, and he is really patient, but then at some point he will say, I need more. You know?
Start with the thing. Light, where is it?
I'm going to need a little bit more. So, you know, and that's really hard. And when you're at work, you know, in my job, I'm regularly chairing meetings, talking, presenting, you know, and when you just can't actually get hold of simple words, you know, it's really debilitating. And we know the history of menopause, that, you know, we know women of our age, obviously I'm older than you, but at my age, you know, the rates of suicide are higher, the rates of women leaving their jobs, getting sacked,
leaving their partners,
you know, major life changes happen. And, you know, and how much of is that down to people's, you know, losing their confidence in themselves, or misreading the, you know, the signs and the signals, and which is just, you know, absolutely, you know, a tragedy. So
it really is.
So I think one of the things that I've really tried to do in my workplace, and I talk about a lot, is, you know, just name it, you know, own it.
Yes.
You know, don't try and hide it, because the more you try and hide it, the worse it becomes, you know. And when you can't remember a word, I mean, I say all the time, sorry, I've lost the word, a menopause moment, I think it begins with P, this is what it means, and it'll come, and yes, that's it, pen, that's it. You know, and but, you know, and I think, and people are with you, because there's always people in the audience who, you know, or in the meeting or whatever, who, you know, they're going through it, starting to go through it themselves, or they've seen their mum go through it, or their sister, or their partner, or their daughter, or whatever. So they're with you, they understand it. You know, it's half of the population. It's not a secret. So people will go with it. And I always say to people, don't, you know, we've still got it. We're at the top of our game, you know. We're wise.
Yes.
You know, we've had a lot of experience.
Definitely have.
Don't dismiss us because we're forgetting the odd word, because we do know this stuff, you know. You just need to give us a minute, and that is it, you know. And so just you know, I say that all the time, because I think,
how's that been received at your workplace?
Yeah, really well. And I think, I mean, I get a lot of people who contact me, you know, sort of saying, oh, you know, heard you say this, heard you on this meeting say this, or, you know, saw you wrote this, and, you know, thank you, because it's made me feel like I can do that now as well. And I'm not dismissing the fact, because my role, I am quite senior in my organisation, so I think it's probably easier for me to do it. Because, you know, there is that kind of, you know, I'm not really worried what I say or what people think of me. Whereas I think if you've only just joined the organisation, or you're not sure how your boss is going to be about it, or it's not that easy to walk in and say menopause moment, and I totally get that, you know. But I just try to, you know, that's why I try and talk about it a lot, so that
people do feel comfortable.
People do feel comfortable.
But
you're modelling that then
as well.
And
when it's a message coming from like the higher end of the organisation, at least people will probably feel more inclined to say, I'm with you, I'm just having a moment, I just need to get my stuff together.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. So
and it is like what you were saying there as well. It is that because you feel really stupid, you know, when you can't access that word.
Yeah.
Because we've had this conversation before, and you know, and the more tired I am, it seems to really affect me.
Yeah.
And then so I, you know, I'm in a meeting and I'm really trying to access a word and I can't do it. Then I go red and I feel stupid and da. But you're so right in saying that actually that's just one part of what I do and who I am and how I perform at work. And please don't judge me on that. No. But unfortunately, as a culture, it can be quite judgmental. So I think, you know, what you're doing is incredible, because that's exactly what we need to do. Have that conversation. And then the more that you have the conversation, other people will feel that they're able to do it.
Exactly.
You know, if I've gone into a meeting and I've said, oh, I'm having a really bad day, and just named it exactly what you just said, it just makes it all so much easier to deal with.
Exactly. Yeah, and all the things that we have to deal with as women.
Yes.
You know, and you know, because it's all so secret. You know, periods.
Oh my God, we were talking about that, weren't we? You can't
and it's like, you know. Don't mention
sliding your tampon up your sleeve to go to the loo.
Don't mention periods. and it's like, you know, it's half the population. It's okay.
Yeah. I've been 10 weeks without one, so I got 7 months in before, and then it came back.
Oh no, really?
Yeah. So you have these like false hopes. I'm nearly there. 5 months to go. Damn. I blame my sister.
Yeah.
Because she came on, so then I did.
Oh really?
Yeah. She'd had about 5 months of not having one. No, we do have to deal with a lot, don't we?
Yeah, exactly. And it's like, you know, why can't you say, you know, oh God, really bad period pains, and that's, you know, just give me a minute. But we don't, do we? We hide it all.
I think it's getting easier to talk to other women about it.
Yes, definitely.
I mean, there was a point where you wouldn't even speak to another woman about it.
Oh yeah.
Whereas now, if we're in, you know, if I'm in a room of women and everyone's a little bit more honest about it now.
Yeah.
But would that be the same if there was a man in the room? I don't know.
Yeah.
And that's interesting in itself, isn't it?
I mean, again, I try to talk about it in front of men and as much as I can, and there's, you know, I've got lots of amazing men, you know, that I work with, and so we had a series of sort of these menopause awareness sessions, and different people came and spoke, and because there's lots of different issues, everyone's different. That's the thing. All of our stories are different. There's things that they're similar, but we've all got very different. And you know, some people go through menopause really, really early, and you know, and that, you know, there's loads of different things. Some people go through it, you know, forced menopause if they've had cancer treatment. You know, there's all the different types of, and so all sorts of people come on and talk, and then and there's a lot of men that come on as well, and because, you know, they might be, like I say, it might be their partner, it might be their mum, it might be someone in their team, there might be a manager, or it might be their manager, and you know, it's just as important that they understand.
Oh my God, it really is. Well,
you know, if not more important.
Well, because a lot of the time they're the support network, aren't they? I remember my husband at one point had to take 2 weeks compassionate leave to stay with me because we didn't know what was going on. So you need you know, the guys to be on board.
Definitely.
I had a shopping delivery the day, and a lovely gentleman delivers the shopping, and I got talking about the podcast because he was saying, oh, you know, what are you up to, what's you know, how do you keep it, how you keep him busy and stuff like that. And so we were talking about menopause and the fact that we're doing this podcast, and he was like, oh, you've got to keep on doing the good work, keep on doing the good work, keep spreading the message. And I was like, okay. It was like, my wife really, you know, she struggled with menopause. And he said, and I went to a doctor friend of mine, spoke to him and said, how can I help her? How can I support her? You know, she doesn't want to do this. She feels like this. She feels... And he says, it's as important for men as it is for women. And he says, and you can say that on your podcast. That's why I'm saying it on the podcast.
You've just said it.
I've just said it.
Well
I
done.
know.
Thank you, Mr. Everyman.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we have a conversation every time he comes, but But a lot of men, I mean, when we do a menopause group at work, and there's a couple of guys that come along.
Yeah.
There's a couple that are like, no, I'm,
Yeah.
But there are some that come along and they actually really want to know.
Yeah.
Because, they have got like, a mum or a sister or a wife or that's going through something.
Yeah, exactly.
Or if they aren't, they will be.
Yeah.
It's, and it's good for the younger generations that are growing up knowing more. I mean, we say, because my son edits the podcast, I think he knows more about perimenopause and menopause than anyone else his age.
Yeah. And it does impact on their environment. I mean,
Of course it does.
Sometimes I am absolutely roasting hot and I need every window and door to be open, and then the next minute I'll be absolutely freezing cold and, we'll need the heating on and that, and my partner lives in that same environment. He's in that same
not having
bedroom.
that changing. But he's not having the change in body temp. He is, because he's having to ride along with
he's
you.
He's having to cope with the fact that's going, do they on, do they off, do they on, do they off? And that's just, so they have to cope with it.
How long kind of into it was it? Because I've not experienced the temperature changes or the night sweats, hot sweats or anything like that. Have you?
Yeah, that was the one thing that it showed me. I was in it. I was like,
seeing
the night sweats.
Yeah.
So
quite a way in, I would say, but and a similar time when sort of my period stopped and then and
just
then,
thinking about what I've got to look forward to.
But all of these things are ways of dealing with them.
Yes, of course
and,
they are.
And as long as you've got your routines and your aids and whatever it is, it's all completely okay.
It's all doable.
You can manage it all.
Yes.
But you just need your things, so you need your fan. And, I've always got a fan with me, a tabletop fan, and, the little ones that you just stand there, and I have, and I have about 6 of them.
Okay,
So there's always one charged
works,
up. And, and you just have to have that so that, wherever you are, then, you can control your flushes. And for night sweats, the ice pillows, they're about £5 from Amazon or £6, and it's just like a gel sheet, basically. And you just put it on your pillow and it's just ice cold and it just brings your temperature straight down. And then you're freezing cold, and then you chuck it out onto the floor. And then next time you need it, it's cold again. You just grab it. You don't have to keep it in the freezer. It just works.
That's a good
Okay.
It's life-changing.
Definitely. Okay.
Life-changing. So these are, you just have to build your toolkit.
And
you
that's
do.
the thing, isn't it? It's working out what works for you, and then keeping
and then
that.
you get through it. But and what do you call them? Fidgety legs.
Oh yes.
That's another one of my big ones, and that's really difficult. So you get your magnesium ointment and you put it on the bottom of your feet.
I started doing that.
Yes, and that
that's
helps.
helping.
And, so once you know all your spot on all your lovely little symptoms, and you've got things to do for all of them, then like I say, I'm hoping I'm coming out the other side of it now, but the brain fog is still very much there. That's lingering. That's the worst one, I think. That.
And do you find that's different? Like, so for me, when I've not had enough sleep, it gets worse. So I have to really work on my sleep. Make sure that I'm getting enough sleep and make sure it's good quality sleep. Are you finding that there's no difference? It's just that you're always pretty much the same.
It's always the same. Because I remember when I went to the doctor, because I did go on HRT for a while, and then I've got loads of friends on HRT who had an amazing experience with it. It didn't work for me.
Okay.
But when I went to the doctor to go on to HRT, I talked to her about my menopause symptoms, and she was like, well, what are they? And she says, hot flushes, is it hot flushes? And I said, well, yes, but, it's all these other things as well. And the brain fog actually is the worst. And she was like, well, that's just because you're not sleeping.
Okay.
And I said, No, it isn't. I said, because it impacts, like you
of course it
say,
does, yeah.
but it's not just, it's not
responsible,
the same as if you've just not had sleep. It's like you can't remember the word car.
Yeah.
You know, so that's not because you're tired.
No,
that's just, you know, and she just didn't get it at all. And
It's like
you
something's
know,
not firing. That's
Yeah,
how I
yeah,
remember
yeah.
how I feel it is. It's just it's like the boiler light's gone
Yeah,
out and I can't
exactly.
quite get it to fire again.
Yeah,
Horrible
exactly.
feeling,
yeah,
isn't
it is absolutely. And then a lot of, you know, women think, you know, is it early onset dementia?
Yes, definitely. And you can see why.
Yeah, definitely.
Because you just can't access what you want to say.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. But my HRT, when I went on to HRT, I don't know if you talk about HRT on the podcast.
Yes, yeah, we
but
do.
So I started bleeding again after I hadn't, you know, for well over a year. And that seems to be quite an experience of, I've spoke to quite a few women who've had that kind of experience, and then you have to have all the, you know, checks and tests and things, you know, and to check that you're okay. But I just thought, do you know what? I don't want my periods to come back. That's the wonderful, wonderful upside of all of this.
Yes.
So I'm not gonna, you know. So I just can't, you know. And I think the upsides weren't enough to balance out. So I just came off it.
Okay. How long were you on it for, Carrie?
About 6 months, I think, something like that.
Was it HRT that kind of sort of got rid of the anxiety?
No.
How did you manage the anxiety and panics?
So I went on citalopram.
Okay.
Very low dose, 10 milligrams, and that was quite a long, and I'm still on it now. And a lot of people, there is a sort of group of thought that, you know, you shouldn't go on to you know, antidepressants because it's menopause and it's about hormones, and doctors will often offer antidepressants, and actually that's not what it is. But my experience has been that my anxiety was so pronounced, well, I couldn't have carried on with my job if I had have gone on to some sort of medication at that time. I was told, I'm not a doctor, I'm not a clinician or anything, but I was told that a 10 milligram dose is, you know, it's not an antidepressant, it's an anti-anxiety at that level. And although, again, it made my symptoms a lot worse for a few weeks, nobody told me that.
Oh, crikey.
So that was when I was, I think, at my absolute worst, those first few weeks being on that. And I was like, what the hell's happening to me? It's not working, and it's getting worse. But then after a few weeks, if I'd have known that, I'd have coped with it again.
But why didn't someone just say?
Why didn't they tell you? But then, just the palpitations, the anxiety, everything just levelled out. And I must admit, I'm now at the stage where I'm thinking, do I still need to be on it? But I'm really nervous about coming off, because I'm like, I can't go back to that. So, you know, at some point I'm going to have to make the call to maybe try. Or maybe I don't have to. I mean, I don't think they do you any harm. I don't know. Again, not a doctor, not a clinician, if I'm saying anything wrong here.
This is just your story.
Yes,
so,
exactly.
Because I went on, I'm on HRT, so I started on estrogen and progesterone. And they didn't really touch the sides of the anxiety and the panic attacks for me. And I think about 3 or 4 months after I'd been on those two, they introduced testosterone into what I was taking. Literally within, it did take probably, I think I started on testosterone July time, so maybe 3 or 4 months. And then, but I remember starting to gradually feel a bit better. And by the October, November, so another 3 months, 2 or 3 months time, I felt amazing, and I just felt totally back in the room. So that's why I'm always really interested, because anxiety and panic attacks were the thing I really struggled with. And it's scary, isn't it? Because you just don't know what the hell is happening.
Exactly.
And I hadn't even got the know-how to even think it was menopause. I remember my sister coming around, and she's much like your sister. And, she'd take me out for walks, and this was trying to get me to take a supplement that would help menopause supplement with magnesium.
Yeah.
And I was so anxious about taking this bloody supplement, just a little supplement. Yeah. We went, she says, look, I can come for an hour, I can give you an hour, because I've got to then crack on with something else. So we went for an hour's walk. And then we went for another hour's walk, and then we went for another hour's walk, and then she was like, can you please just take that tablet? The whole time I've walked around with this blooming vitamin thing in my pocket.
Yeah, yeah.
So that's why I'm always just really interested.
I mean, I have heard that, people, the testosterone really help. I mean, I didn't get to that stage, so it was just estrogen and progesterone. So, I think that, probably if I'd have continued down that route, then that would have been the thing. But
when you find something that works, you kind of
just want to hold on to it. I don't want to give it up. I don't want to give it up. And then the other day, I tried to get my medication, and because I take one, blood pressure and a couple of other things, and that didn't come up, and I was like, oh well. Maybe I'm not due it for another couple of weeks. Maybe I've got another box or something. So I didn't attend to it until I'd taken my last one. And then I went and looked in the box and there were none. And I was like, I couldn't believe it.
I think I'd be the same if there was no testosterone.
I was like, oh! And so I rang the doctors and, they said, you're number one on the, and that was, but at my doctor's, you're number one for about 2 hours.
Oh wow! Okay.
The whole number one thing doesn't work so much. So I'm like, got it on. I'm at work, but I've got this thing on in the background. And then eventually she answers. I'm like, yes, please. I've done a terrible thing. I ran out of my telephone. I'm so sorry. I can't believe I've done it. But haven't got anything to take today, and I've been on it for years. And and she was like, date of birth. And she was like, name. And I was like, okay, but is there anything you can do? She says, well, let me check. I'll check the system. And then she says, no, you're, she says, you should have been reviewed in October.
Oh.
And I was like, well, I didn't know that. I said, nobody told me. Is anyone supposed, and she said, no, she says, it's on your prescription. And I said, well, I don't see my prescription. I said, I just order it in the app and then I pick it up from the chemist, so I don't actually ever look at a prescription. But I didn't get a text or anything. She says, no. And she says, well, that's it now. She'll have to have a review. And she says, next review, telephone review, end of March. That was about 6 weeks away. Wow. And I was like, so what happens now? She says, well, I'll have to ask the doctor if they'll do you an interim. And I said, yes, okay. Can I get that today, though? And she was like, I don't know. I'll do my best. I'll have to do my best. And I said, well, okay, I'm really, really anxious about this, though, because I'm really, really don't want to miss a day. And I know that you're supposed to, if you are withdrawing, you're supposed to do it gradually. And, I'm really, really worried about this. And she said, well, I'll do my best. And I said, so how will I know? Will you ring me? She says, no, don't have time to ring people. She says, you'll just have to ring the chemist and just see, whether they've got. So I was like, I've got to keep ringing Boots to see if they've got my right. Okay. Luckily, Boots were really lovely, and they text me to say we've got the prescription, and then they got me the. I was racing down there.
Oh my god!
Well, sent my partner to race. But it was. I was so worried. I was absolutely beside myself, And sometimes I just don't think they realise.
No, I don't think anyone probably does unless they've been through it themselves.
Yeah.
Because I think I'd feel the same if I didn't have the testosterone. Yeah. And actually, what is that about? The fact it's almost like there's a stressor there of, even though I feel a gazillion % most of the time now. I would still be. I would still absolutely be petrified to go back to that.
Yeah, well, that's it. Because you remember how low you got,
how awful it was.
To think about getting back to that, you can't.
Could give you anxiety just as a thought.
Yeah, exactly.
Because you've worked so hard to get to the place that you're at now.
Exactly.
If you ever started to feel that low again, you would move heaven and earth for it, wouldn't you?
Exactly.
You would.
And it's not just about the medication, because there are others. I'm sure there's things you've changed in your lifestyle and things I've changed. And I do yoga.
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 Tell us about yoga.
I love yoga.
We love our yoga.
Oh, I love
Absolutely
yoga.
love it.
I mean,
So was that something you did
wow.
before
No,
perimenopause? Okay,
no,
so tell us about
yeah.
that then.
I just love it, and I think it just makes you feel so much, just so much better. And,
So at what
yeah.
point did you decide that was one of your tools for your toolbox?
Yeah, I think somebody said. I mean, people do say, don't they? Oh, you've tried yoga. You've tried yoga.
I know.
You know,
That needs to go on a t-shirt.
Yeah, I've tried yoga. And I'm not a sporty, active person.
none of us are.
You know, I don't do sport. And you know, I do lots of other things. I do drama and singing, and you know, and all sort of. Got lots of other things, music, but I don't, sport's never been my thing. And I just always put yoga in that box, I think. And I was just like, gym kits, in a room, on
Flexible
the floor.
bodies.
Yoga bodies.
Yoga, sweating. No, that's not me. But then, I can't even remember how I first tried it. I can't actually remember, But yeah, I do remember. I do, of course I remember. I thought, right, I've got to this age and I've never done it, and I've never done anything really active. So I don't feel confident to go into a class and just, do it, because I've no idea what I'm doing. So I looked around for someone who might do one-to-one.
Brilliant idea.
And I found this amazing woman called Sarah, and she actually came to my house. So I arranged for 6 weeks, which is very indulgent, 6 weeks of one-to-one yoga, once a week, not the whole week, you understand. But so once a week on a Monday night, she would come to my house, clear all the lounge out, light candles, and she would bring stuff, smelly stuff, and it was just really lovely. And she would bring her mat, and I brought a mat as well, and and so we just had an hour and a half, I think we had together every week on a Monday night, and then from there I joined her class.
Yeah. Because you felt confident,
because then
and
I
you were
felt
able
confident,
to do,
and then she moved away.
Oh no!
But she does come back every now and again. But so I do sometimes go to classes, but I mainly do it at home now. Yeah. Yoga with Adrienne.
Love yoga with Adrienne.
So I always do January every day, yoga every damn day. And I've got a WhatsApp group. That's set up. So Amy does something similar. My sister's got a messenger group, and I've got a WhatsApp group. And so then people join, and then I just share the one from Adrienne every day, and then we all just chat about, oh, that was a bit difficult, or oh, wasn't that lovely?
That's lovely.
And it does really encourage you to keep going, because you feel like, or otherwise you have to say, oh, I didn't really do today. And then someone says, well, what did you think to that,
You can't answer
wild thing.
Oh.
And you're like, I didn't do it. But I just, love it.
But that's a lovely way around, not going to a class, you're still getting the community feel, because that's a big thing. That's one of the things I love about the yoga class I go to, is we've got a really lovely community that's in built in that, but that's a lovely way around that.
And we did it through lockdown as well. So what Sarah did, because we all sort of then I think that's when I stopped going to classes, because I used to go all the time, and then through lockdown she did the Zoom ones, so she would do it, and then everyone would sort of put their cameras on at the end. Yeah. So we'd all just watch her, and then at the end we'd just all put our cameras on, and then we'd just all sit around with all our different candles on in our different houses.
Oh, lovely.
Just having a little community, which was really nice.
That is lovely.
So, And do you know what I'm doing in about 3 weeks' time?
What?
I'm going to one of those bungee exercise classes.
Oh, are you?
Yeah.
Is that where you get strapped up in like a bungee jump thing?
Yeah, I know.
Are they doing them in Leicester?
In Enderby. Yeah, in Enderby. Yeah, I know. Me and
that might be one for
me and two girlfriends are going. I think it's called something like Bungee Leicester or something.
Okay.
But it looks really nice. And what I've said to him, look, go gentle, because I'm not too, I don't want to be running and jumping and
Yeah,
that, but
yeah,
obviously I want to fly.
Oh my God,
Because you
yeah.
see,
That's
you know,
all I want
they
to do.
fly. I want to fly, and I'd really like you to help me to do the full crab.
Oh, like a back bend thing.
Yeah, because you can do that on there.
Wow,
That
that
sounds
fantastic.
really cool.
I know, yeah.
That sounds really
It's
cool.
£13 for an hour, or you can do a half-hour taster.
That sounds great.
I know.
I might have to have a look at that.
I think you need
Might
to have a
to
look.
I'll
I'll send you
yes,
the
please
link.
Do.
Yeah.
I think we're zip lining on Tuesday.
I'm booked in.
Yes, I need to book in.
wow.
There's a zip line at
The Leicester Outdoor Pursuit Centre.
Really?
Yeah.
They've got a menopause group.
Really?
So once a month they do a different activity.
Yeah.
So this one is zip lining, and then in next month I think is a campfire.
Campfire.
And I just love the fact that it's So I mean we've not been yet, so we'll obviously report on what that's like.
Yes,
You
I'll
book
book in. No, I'll book in. Definitely book in.
The
Yeah,
only
I'll
thing I
book
did
in.
think
They've
is it's
got
going to be dark.
spaces.
Yeah.
Because it's going to be at like 6 o'clock, isn't it?
Zipping in the
You're going to be
dark.
flying.
I know.
See, I really like the sound of the campfire a bit more.
Yeah.
Well, I do.
Yeah,
love
yeah.
a campfire.
I'll
Do
ping
they
that
sing?
across to you.
Yeah, do
Yeah, I
they
wonder
sing?
if they do sing.
Oh, I don't know. We'll have to ask.
Well, I would
You
find
could
out
start.
what. Yeah,
You
I
could
would
start
have
it,
to, 'cause
couldn't
I don't
you?
think I could sit around a campfire and not sing.
Okay.
Yeah.
That would be lovely.
That would be great.
Wouldn't it?
Yeah.
That's the sort of thing that I want to do more of.
Yes.
The sort of thing- getting
Yes.
into the wild bit of it,
Yes.
like you mentioned, like early
Yeah.
doors.
Yeah.
It's kind of embracing
Yeah.
that sort of second half of life. You've
Yeah.
almost got like another
Yeah,
life
yeah,
to
yeah.
live, and I know we say that quite a bit because that's
Definitely.
how we're both feeling, isn't
Yeah.
it? That it's kind of like you've got now another life to live, another adventure to have,
Yeah.
new things to learn,
Yeah. Yeah.
with the added bonus that
Yeah.
you've had like 50 odd years
Exactly.
experience.
Exactly.
So you know what you don't want to do.
Yeah.
You know what
and
you want to
care,
try.
You care a lot less about
Yes,
what people
don't
think.
you?
Yeah, I mean, I do like that bit.
I
don't
mean,
know
I
why
love
that
that.
is.
bit.
I love that bit.
I spent so much of my time worrying about what
Me
people
too.
thought.
Yeah.
Oh,
Oh, I shouldn't have said that. I
wasted,
should have done
wasted.
this. Yeah, yeah.
Now I don't care.
And
Well,
that
I
is
mean, I do
gorgeous.
care.
Yes.
Obviously
No.
about the people.
Yeah.
You care
that I care about, and I do care. I don't want to upset people and offend people, or but if people don't like me, I don't,
Doesn't matter anymore, does it?
That doesn't matter. Well,
No.
Was that something that came with midlife?
Yeah, I think
do you
so. Yeah,
I think
definitely.
it's
Isn't
Yeah.
it bizarre though?
Yeah, the more
Yeah.
people we're talking to, the
But,
more
yeah,
that
they're
we're
saying
all
that.
feeling
Yeah.
the same.
And if you ask me when my happiest decade is, because it's easily my 50s, yeah, definitely.
oh, now
We're
that's
both,
lovely.
yeah, we're both
Yeah.
50 this summer, aren't we?
Yeah.
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 And I'm really, really, really excited.
Yeah.
Really excited.
Easily, yeah, because it's just, you just feel,
More yourself.
More yourself. You know who you are. You're comfortable in your own skin, and stuff is changing around you, and, bits start to fall off and
Or droop down.
and so the scary stuff that comes with it, but yeah, much happier.
Yeah.
So if someone was to say, I can take you back to being 21, or you can
Oh,
stay,
no,
you wouldn't
keep
do it.
21. No,
Yeah,
no,
see, I wouldn't
yeah.
either.
No, I wouldn't.
Definitely not. No, I might have a couple of hours.
Yeah, just to.
Yeah.
Yes, I said that to you, didn't I? I think I'd have my
Maybe a
20-year-old
night.
body down to go clubbing or to a festival.
Maybe an evening.
Yeah.
Maybe
Yeah.
a weekend.
Yeah.
To be able to
Come
stay up
back.
past
Yeah.
9:30 at night.
Yeah. Maybe a weekend, and then I'll come back.
Then come back, yeah. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, I think it'd be nice to do that, but keep the wisdom that we've got.
Oh, now
Yeah.
that would be.
Yeah, that would.
Old-
Wouldn't that be a
Old
combination?
head on. That would be an old head on your shoulders.
Yeah, really would, wouldn't it?
Definitely.
Yeah. We'd be even more of a force than we are now.
Oh yeah, I know. I mean, that's hard to imagine.
It is hard to imagine, isn't it? We're like the witches of Eastwick here.
But that's really lovely
yeah.
to hear, though, because I mean, I think one of our future guests has said to us, there's a lot of stuff in the media about how all these symptoms and perimenopause is a horrible time and and we get so kind of caught up in that. Actually, what we're trying to do and what we are doing by having these conversations is kind of saying, actually, this is a great time in our lives.
Yeah.
It's
Bust
quite
the
exciting.
myths.
Definitely,
Yes.
definitely.
Make it less scary.
Yes.
And that, I think that's a difficult balance to strike, because when you're talking about to people who haven't yet started going into perimenopause, you don't want to terrify people, do you? You don't want people to say, oh, this sounds horrendous, what I've got coming, because when you're in something, it's always not quite as bad as when you think about it.
Yeah.
Is it, when you anticipate it, it's worse. So, you don't want to scare people, but you want people to feel informed and
aware.
and part of, something much bigger, and other women have gone before you, and they can, they can help you, and you don't have to sit there thinking, what's wrong with me? But you've got to get that balance right. And actually, it isn't that scary. Once you know what it is, there's ways to deal with it. Whether that's HRT or citalopram or yoga or, what, ice pillars, fans, whatever.
Yeah, whatever your mix is.
Magnesium, all of it. There are ways to deal with all of it and manage it, and generally life is better.
Yeah, definitely. Oh, I think that's a really nice place to wrap up. So, thank you so much for coming in today,
That's
Carrie.
okay.
It's been really, really good to talk to you. Just thank you. Just thank you. I've really enjoyed that conversation.
Yeah, that was a lovely conversation.
It's really, really good. So thank you very much.
Yes,
Thank you for having me.
Thank you.
Thank you for tuning in to today's episode of Wild, Wise and Curious. If you'd like to be a guest on the show, feel free to email us at info@wildwiseandcurious.com or reach out on our socials at wild_wise_and_curious. And don't forget to hit subscribe so you never miss an episode. Stay curious and we'll see you next time.